I'm with Russell Baker from England. Now, Russell, you're a member of FOI, Focus on Israel. What is Focus on Israel?
Basically, Focus on Israel is a charity that works to promote Israel and the teaching of Israel. I got involved in it and about a year and a half ago when my dad, who's a member of the board, asked me to join. And I went to a couple of their meetings to see what they do and stuff. And then, I was invited onto the board and I accepted. And they do quite a lot of good work. They do a lot of tours in Israel. So every year, I think at least 3 of the board members take a tour. One of them takes a youth tour of Israel. And they have a vision at the moment where they will eventually, hopefully, bring people over to Israel to study the land, study the culture, and try and work out what that means for the Bible and how to interpret that.
Now, you're here in Israel at the moment. Why are you here and how long are you here for?
Okay, yeah, we came over to spend some time with a church in Jerusalem from our college in England, and I'm here to look at the aspect of prayer because the place I was at is mainly like a 24/7 prayer house, and they pray for Israel and the nations, and we've been here for 3 weeks.
And how important is praying for this nation, this land?
I think it's very important, especially I think Israel plays such a large part in what we believe as Christians and what we read in the Bible, and the Bible is full of places where it talks about the preservation of Israel and what it means to God. And I think that it's very important for Christians definitely to have Israel on their mind, to pray for the peace of Israel, especially at the moment with loads of conflict. I think that they could definitely do with prayer.
And what sort of things have you been praying about specifically?
Yeah, mainly for me, from my aspect, I've been praying mainly for the peace of Israel, that stuff that happens here at this moment in time, decisions that are made would work out best for everyone. But at the prayer house, they pray for a lot of different things, for the government, just for the city in general, for the Jewish people, for Muslims who live here, and also for Aliyah, so praying for Jewish people to return home.
Now, apart from praying, you've also had the chance to visit the country. What's it been like for you visiting Israel?
Oh, it's been absolutely brilliant. There's something about being here which is so nice, and just walking the streets. It's something I've noticed is that you just walk everywhere here. Like, you don't want to get like transport or anything like that, whereas I guess in England you get transport everywhere. We've been mainly in Jerusalem, so seeing the old city and seeing the diversities of cultures. Like, you can go down one street and it's a totally different type of culture to another street, and with the mixture of architecture and stuff like that. But we've also gone outside of Jerusalem as well. I think we went to Masada. We visited En Gedi, which was really nice. And obviously we were able to visit Bethlehem as well.
Now, as you've been visiting these places, has it really opened up the Bible to you?
Yeah, it really has. I think there's something special about seeing what you read. It brings it alive. And, since we've been here, we've had the ability to go around Jerusalem with people who know the land and open scripture and read it and say, this is where this happened and this is where that happened. And I think that from my point of view, something that I've realized since I've been here is that actually for people who are wanting to take the Bible seriously, and definitely for people studying theology like I do, I don't think this is valuable. I think it's necessary. I think it's vital. If you're wanting to understand the Bible, I think you should definitely do it at least once.
And if you also want to understand the Bible, is it important to understand Jewish culture and Jewish customs as well? Because the Bible is a Jewish book. Christianity was out of Judaism.
Yeah, I think that's vital, because there's a lot of things in the Bible which come from a Jewish perspective. And I think the danger that's happened in the past is in the West, we've given it a Western understanding to it. We think differently, and because we think differently, we've added different meanings to it. And I think in some ways, in some areas, we've missed what the Bible is actually saying because we've neglected to understand the audience that it was written to and the audience who wrote it, which was very Jewish, very Middle Eastern.
Now, you said you've been into Bethlehem as well, which is in the Palestinian Authority. Did you notice any differences from Israel going into the Palestinian Authority? And what was it like going into Bethlehem for you?
Yeah, I think immediately you get a sense that it's a little bit more. There's a lot more friction there. So when you arrive, there's this giant wall, and automatically it's kind of what's the right word? It's imposing, and it creates like an atmosphere which is quite heavy, I think, simply because you're going into an area which is disputed, into an area of conflict, or definitely there's been conflict in the past. But I noticed that everything's a lot cheaper in Bethlehem, much cheaper, and the people were just as nice. We managed to visit a few families there, which was really nice. It's something we haven't really done as much in this side, is to actually go and visit the people and hear their story, which is something we were able to do. It was a real pleasure to go.
Now, when you go through Bethlehem, you have to go through a checkpoint. What was it like just going through a checkpoint? How did that take you back?
Yeah, I've never had to go through one of those before. It was interesting. But saying that, they generally just went straight past us after they'd looked at our passports, so they didn't really bother about us. But it's interesting that you have to go through that, because it creates, you feel the separation between the areas when you go through, and it is a bit nerve-wracking when soldiers come on and they want to check your stuff. It's a bit weird.
Now, what has surprised you about the land of Israel?
There's a lot of things which are surprising, but they tend to be the small things. So this is going to sound really silly, but one of the things I noticed straight away is people always wait for the green man at the traffic lights. Whereas in England, if there's no cars, you just walk across the road. But here they stay. Even though there's no cars anywhere to be seen, they will not cross the road until there's a green man. We later found out that's because you can be booked and you can get an immediate fine if you're caught walking across the road. But it's loads of little things like that. And also I think the generally surprising thing about being in Israel is the fact that there are so many different cultures, but people get along. And one thing I have noticed, and I'm sure that we've only been here 3 weeks, but when you're in the West, you very much get this picture that everyone hates each other, no one gets along. And since I've been here, I haven't seen that as the case. I think people do get along really well, and actually there seems to be a lot of unity. And I'm sure that that gets fractured, and there's a lot of issues that occur during the years, but there generally does seem a lot more love with each other than I thought there would be. And that has been surprising, because in Western news we don't hear that. We just only ever hear about the bad stuff. We never hear about that day-to-day life where people are just getting along and enjoying each other's company.
Do you think the media actually makes things bigger than it actually is?
Yeah, definitely. Because like I said, we only ever hear the negatives. So in England, we'll only ever get told when there's a conflict, when a bomb has gone off, when the military has had to go in somewhere, the fact that people are arguing, the fact that the governments can't get along. We only ever hear the negatives. It's very rare that, in fact, I don't think I've ever heard anything positive said on English news about Israel.
Do you think there's a hope and a future for Israel today?
Yeah, of course there is. Yeah, there is. I think that there's a lot of hope, and even being here, you can see that hope. And I know that there's a lot of divisions, there's a lot of walls. My hope is that they don't create more walls, they don't create more barriers. And I know that there's a lot of things coming up, and it's very controversial about what we do with the land and whether or not we make it into 2 separate states or whatever. And I know that there's loads of different political opinions from the different people, but I hope that whatever's decided doesn't create more walls and more barriers, because actually I think it's time to get rid of those, because I think that the people are very trusting. And actually one of the things that I've noticed, we talked about Bethlehem, is that the people from Bethlehem aren't necessarily allowed to come into Jerusalem, even the everyday people who aren't necessarily causing trouble. And I think that that's something they would have to work on, in my opinion, if you want to create lasting unity and lasting peace. I know that it's easier said than done, but I think there is great hope. And I think just being here and being, in the city and seeing how people interact with each other, from my perspective, which could be very narrow, I think it's more than possible.
Do you think the wall actually helps to demonize people, whereas Palestinians don't associate with Jews, so they demonize them, and Jews don't associate with Palestinians, so they demonize each other?
Yeah, I think so. I think the wall is a major issue, and even going through the checkpoint of the wall, it just felt like there was a major separation there, which there is, but it felt like very aggressive, and of course someone's going to feel aggressive if they're not being allowed through, and of course the other side is going to feel aggrieved if someone's trying to get in when they shouldn't, and I think it creates a lot more tension. But as to what you do with that, I think more intelligent people can work out how to work that out. But definitely, I think the wall's there to divide, isn't it? And that's what it's going to do.
And what's your prayer finally for this nation, for this land?
Continued peace and lasting peace, and that the people who are in control, the people who make decisions, would think long and hard and would pray before they rush into any decisions, but that they would think about what's best for the future of Israel, and that maybe they would take advice as well. But I think definitely they need to pray as well, and I think people need to come back to what God wants, from my perspective.
Okay, Russell, thank you very much.
Thank you.